Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. Why am I so low? Oh, let me just get the seat up a little. Oh, that's better. Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I'm Michael Pinter. I teach you how to start flipping and wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. So we're talking about how to wholesale auction properties. So first we got to discuss what type of auction. So the first 4 years I was in this business, I primarily bought via auction. I went to every live auction in Nassau County every Tuesday. I spent probably 2 days a week on the auctions, and just how the live auctions work in my county is you need to have a certified check, technically made out to the referee, but it could be made out to you, and then you endorse it over. That's all in the story. Or cash for 10% of whatever the winning bid is. So you bid $300,000, you need to provide that referee with the $30,000 in certified checks or cash. Once you get that, it's fairly easy to assign the bid. So there is an attorney, a plaintiff's attorney, who's representing the lender. Now remember, what's going on in an auction? It's a foreclosure auction. Somebody hadn't paid the mortgage. In New York, it's a very, very long time. It could be 10 or 12 or 15 years. And now the bank is taking the property back. And they've opened it up for auction, and then people sit there and they bid on it. A lot of properties, the bank wants more than anyone wants to bid, and then it goes back to the bank or back to the plaintiff, and then it becomes an REO, real estate owned. We're not talking about that. We're talking about you actually went to the auction and you won the bid. Now it's actually very easy. I'm saying actually way too many times. It's pretty easy for you to assign the bid. You call the plaintiff's attorney and you say, hey, I want to assign the bid, and they usually don't care, right? But you need to make sure that whoever is handling the transaction, make sure you get your deposit back. That's all. And by the way, sometimes it's not exactly 10%, right? You may have checks for $40,000, even if you only bid 30, so you may have a bigger deposit than 10%. But it's easy to assign the bid in a live auction in my county. Now, it may not be the same in your county. It may not be the same everywhere. So it may not be as easy. Some places are not going to allow that. But in my county, it was simple. Now, a bigger question is, what about online auctions? So I also bought a lot on online auctions. Online auctions are a lot more complicated because, right, you would think they'd be easier, but the language, you're not allowed to change a contract at all when you get something on an online auction. Your attorney has no input, right? Usually in New York, your attorney as a buyer has a lot of input into what's in the contract, right? The assignability, the size of the deposit, whether you can show it, all kinds of things. But on an online auction, it takes place similar to other places where really that's not true, because in other parts of the country, the contract is usually brought by the buyer. Here, the contract is being provided by the seller, right? Who in this case is almost always a lender. The online auctions are almost always property that are already REO. They're owned by a lender who foreclosed on the property. So exactly what I told you before. It went to auction in whatever county it was in, and it went back to the plaintiff. So the bank took it back, and now they put it out on an online auction. Sometimes they'll get it vacant. Sometimes they'll clean it up. Sometimes they'll fix it up. Very often they won't do any of that stuff. So at that point, you have no input into the wording, the language of the contract. So it says clearly you're not allowed to assign it. You're not allowed to do anything with it. So the one loophole that I found is that if you can buy the property in an LLC, then what you should do is create a new LLC for the property. So let's say you're buying 123 Main Street. You create the LLC 123 Main Street LLC. And what you can do then, and this is a gray area, is you can sell the interest of the LLC to a cash buyer. So you need to, instead of assigning it, you're selling them the interest in the LLC. Now, what happens is a lot of buyers and or their attorneys are unfamiliar with how this transaction works, and they're scared. And it's really stupid, but this is what they think. They think, well, if I'm going to buy your LLC, what happens if there's litigation again? What if there's pending litigation against LLC? So the way to avoid these things is to create the LLC as late as possible, and then tell them, listen, I created the LLC. It's called, you want to buy 123 Main Street. It's called 123 Main Street LLC. I'm going to create the LLC right before and give it to you. The only glitch in that is that sometimes when you put the bid in, or when you are communicating with the seller, they want to see the LLC docs in advance. So you may have to create the LLC a little earlier. But so I'm talking about a month, so maybe a month or two earlier before you find the buyer and the buyer's ready to close. So hopefully the buyer's attorney understands how this works. Hopefully the buyer understands how it works. It really is almost no liability for them. What are you going to do something crazy in the LLC in the 2 months that is going to cause pending litigation? It's ridiculous. So that's the loophole. You sell the interest in the LLC instead of actually assigning the contract. And I've had good buyers who just, their attorney did not understand this or was unwilling to allow them to do that. So you have to understand there is a risk that you can do everything right, and the buyer's attorney just says, I'm not going for it. I'm not buying the interest in the LLC. It's foolish, but it does happen. So you need to be very clear. And when I am selling interest in an LLC, I will be very clear up front with all the buyers that, listen, this is not a straight up assignment. I'm in contract, and I'm in contract in an LLC. It's a brand new LLC. I'm going to sell you the interest in the LLC. I tell them it first so that if there's a problem, I don't want it later. You got to be as transparent as possible when there's a legal issue like this, because the worst thing that could happen is I just had a guy tell me, I'm willing to pay, I have a wholesale deal out. Guess I'm willing to pay the price. I was very clear that I'm selling it with the tenants. This guy goes, I'm willing to pay the price. I was happy with the price. He goes, yeah, but I needed to vacant. I'm like, dude, you didn't even read the email. The email says I'm delivering it with the tenants, so this is not going to work, right? I thought it was too good to be true anyway. But you need to communicate everything. So that's another example of something you want to do when you're wholesaling. You want to communicate things about title issues. So if there's open permits, open violations, if there's tenant issues, if you're selling it with the tenants, or whether the tenants are paying or not, if they are paying, how much they're paying. These things you want to communicate up front. Very important. What you don't want is what just happened. So if I was a rookie, I would have been jumping for joy last night when I got this offer. I knew already something didn't sound right. And then it's just a situation where the guy didn't read the email where I said I'm selling it with the tenants. He says he wants to be delivered vacant. That's great. If I was delivering it vacant, I'd get a lot more money than you were offering me. So these are things that happen all the time. You want to communicate them up front. So it certainly is possible to wholesale auction properties. But it depends, if you're going to live auctions, what the policy is. So if I was in another county, I would simply go to, or a town, I'd go to that person who runs the auctions and I'd say, hey, if I'm the winning bidder, what's the process to assign the bid? And they may say something like, we don't allow assignments of bid. Or they may say, well, we need to find out who it is. There could be all kinds of things they ask for, but I would ask in advance. Because if you can't assign the bid, then you're going to have it's going to be impossible for you to wholesale. You'll be able to double close, so you'll close on it and then immediately sell it to someone else. But there are a lot of costs involved in that in New York. So I know in other states, everybody talks about double closing, right? I know in states like North Carolina, the whole closing costs are $600. So you double close, you're just paying an extra $600. Who gives a crap? I'd probably double close every time. But in New York, where you have transfer tax and you have transfer tax and you have all these other things, title charges that are going to show up, recording fees, it could be thousands and thousands of dollars, right? I closed the deal once. It was 5 properties from one person, from one seller, and I wholesaled them 5 properties, assigned them to another buyer, and it cost me $40,000 to do it, right? It was $8,000 per property. I needed transactional funding. It was a little bit of a pain in the ass, but I needed to do it. It had to be done. It was a complicated situation, but that's a lot of money, right? So if you're making $30,000 on a wholesale deal, which is what I average, you don't want to pay $5,000 or $6,000 for double close costs. Now, if it's necessary, if the deal can't happen without it, I'll definitely do it. I wouldn't even think twice about it, right? I'm not going to give up a few thousand. I'm not going to give up $25,000 because of $5,000. That's bad math. But I would say, without a doubt, that assigning is better. And so the issues, and again, the reason why assigning really works better in New York, right, or it's possible that, right, well, it's not a problem in New York. When you see other people talk about, well, I don't want to assign in other states, it's because they don't want the seller or the buyer to get upset and walk away. Now, let's explain why that's not a problem in New York. One of the beauties of New York, right? There's so many good things about New York. But one of the most obvious is you make more money on deals than other places. You have much less competition in New York. But one of the greatest things is that, and it's the flip side of the coin of one of the worst things in New York. One of the hardest things in New York is it's very difficult to get into contract. But one of the best things in New York, it's impossible to get out of contract. So I told the story a million times. I'll tell it again. One of my first wholesale deals was a monster deal, $120,000 deal, $110,000 deal. And the seller was a really militant guy, angry, pissed off at the world. And I told my attorney, I'm afraid this guy's going to walk from the closing when he sees how much money I'm making. And he said to me the most beautiful words. He goes, he may be pissed off, but he's not selling it to anybody else. And the reason why is in New York, if you're in contract and you're a buyer and the seller doesn't want to sell, you could do 2 things. You could do, number 1, you could put a list pendants on the property, just like a foreclosure from a bank, which means he'll never sell it to anybody else. And number 2 is you can sue him for specific performance for the entire purchase price. So you're buying a property for $500,000, you can sue him for $500,000. Now you may say, well, maybe sellers don't know that, but they're always represented by an attorney who will tell them right away, you have no choice here, you got to sell it to them. So that's a beautiful thing. And therefore, you don't need to double close, right? Buyer's upset, seller's upset, it doesn't matter. You're still getting paid. So that's the beauty of it. I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in the different ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in my course that teaches how to do this, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com. If you're interested in coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. What else? Oh, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you are watching on any platform, please click like. The thumbs up really helps me at my SEO, my search engine optimization, which lets more people see my videos. A lot more people have been viewing my videos lately. I'm very happy about that. I'm trying to get my word out and help as many people as I can. And please keep the comments coming. Comments help me, gives me topics to discuss. I go live 5 times a week, and sometimes I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. So keep the comments coming. If they're simple, there's no bad questions. If it's simple, I'll just reply. If it's a topic I covered before or in depth, I'll send you links to the videos. And if it's something I haven't covered in a while or something new, I'll do a video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching. I really appreciate it.